have a block chart. Each block is represented by a different social media company, and as you can see from the top, these are fictitious results, by the way. These are not true. It's just to show you how you would write about a chart. So on the left hand side we have stock prices from 0 to 30,000, and that's on the vertical axis. Underneath, which is the horizontal axis, we have the dates 2005, 2010 and 2015. The graph shows the stock prices of 3 companies between 2005 and 2015. And now we're going to discuss how you would write about such a chart. So this is how we could write about the graph. Task 1, writing process. You can write the graph shows, or the graph highlights, or the graph illustrates, the graph indicates, and then put whatever it indicates. You can also use as the graph shows, as illustrated by the graph. From the graph it is clear that, as can be clearly seen from the graph, it can be seen from the graph that, so there are many different combinations to use. So you could also say the graph shows the stock price of 3 companies between 2005 and 2015. Now you do need to use certain key features to include in your overview. You will get marks on your main points. So if you don't include any main points, then obviously there's not going to be anything there for you to get higher than a 5 band score. But if you want a 7 band score and above, you need to add the main points and have trends and some comparisons, as we've discussed previously in the other videos. And you need to organize your body paragraphs logically. You know, we've got 3 companies to look at, and we're going to describe them in one paragraph. With the smallest figures, we will describe them as they go up and up and up, or down and down and down. There has to be some kind of logical meaning to them. And I think we've covered a lot of ground so far in in all 3 of the videos. And I think the hardest part in the Ielts writing task is task 1, and practicing it and looking at enough diagrams. You know, you've got to look at quite a few different types of diagrams. And you've got to think logically about how you're going to express what's going on in these graphs. So you need to do a lot of practice. You need to write different sentences with different main points, different illustrations, different indications about each of the graphs, because you never know which kind of graph they're going to give you. So practice makes perfect. And the more you practice, the more automatic your thinking will become, and you will know immediately what to say. It's just a question of practicing the types of sentences, parts of sentences, the facts and figures. And the more you do it, the more automatic it will become when you're in the test. Because it is probably one of the hardest parts, writing about a graph. So if you get it right, you can easily get a band score of 8. If you get it wrong, you're looking at 5. So basically, the main points of this graph are that Twitter increased, Google decreased, and Instagram fluctuated. So we could write, for example, it can be observed from the chart that, here we're using stock prices. Now these are not true stock prices, by the way. This is completely fictitious. It's just an example to give you an idea of how to write about bar charts, which I earlier mentioned as block charts. Well, bar charts are charts made up of blocks, if you like. Anyway, you could also say it is important to note that stock prices or share prices, according to the graph, Twitter increased, Google decreased and Instagram fluctuated, something like that. You can also say it can be seen from the chart that blah blah blah, or it is very clear from the overall trend that blah blah blah. And so that you don't forget what I just said, here we have the bar chart. Basically the main points of this graph are that Twitter increased, Google decreased and Instagram fluctuated. For example, we could say it can be observed from the chart that stock prices or share prices of Twitter increased, Google decreased and Instagram fluctuated. Or you can also use it is important to note that, or it can be seen from the chart that, or it is very clear from the overall trend that. You see, the problem that a lot of students make is that they try to overcomplicate things. All the examiner's looking for are current trends, and the current trend is usually the right answer, and I've given you the right answer. So I've given you the current trends of our chart, our bar chart, although the figures on the bar chart are completely fictitious. It's just to give you an idea of how to write about bar charts, line graphs, or whatever particular chart that you are handed on your Ielts test by the examiner. Okay? Thanks very much.